Welcome to Scorched Earth. This is going to be a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of April. If you don't know what your moon or ascendant signs are, have a look in the description box below. There's a link down there. You'll follow that, it'll give you your birth chart for free. And then you should come back and watch your moon and ascendant sign videos, because as you will swift to discover, your sun sign makes up a very, very small proportion of your natal chart overall. And sometimes other placements can have a stronger effect on you than just your sun sign, so it's worth bearing in mind. Thank you to all the subscribers, people who've liked and cared as well, actually, shared, commented, sent me messages, reached out for personal readings, that sort of thing. I'm not currently taking personal readings, but it's coming soon. I had to close my books because the backlog that I had just wasn't getting cleared. So bear with me. I'll be back for personal readings soon. That's it. Yeah. Oh, and the people that donated, thank you so much. Like, that also makes a big difference. So I think that's quite enough shuffling. We'll do one more big one, and then we'll get some cards. I'm going to pull 3 cards, but usually a shit ton of clarifiers, so I'll get a decent reading out of it. Let's have 3 cards for Taurus for April, please. As the first one, 8 of Pentacles. Like that. Earth energy. 2 more cards for Taurus, please. Oh, where have you gone? Down here. Oh. 6 of Swords. I like that. I like that very much, Taurus. Have 1 more card for Taurus, please. And the 4 of Swords. I like that too. Wow, on the bottom of the deck we've got the 8 of Cups. You're definitely moving away from something. And then we've got the 2 of Pentacles and Temperance underneath. I like this direction, Taurus. This is good. So we'll get some clarifiers. Yeah, I'm going to use the Commonplace deck today, which is actually going to feature in one of my flick through videos when I get around to making them, so keep an eye out for that. Right. Where's the 8 of Pentacles here for Taurus, please? First card we've got is the Knight of Cups. And the Ace of Pentacles. Oh, I like that. There's the 6 of Swords here. Death. It's a card of Scorpio in the Major Arcana, number 13. But I like that it's come out underneath the 6 of Swords. That's really, really positive. I mean, Death's a pretty positive card anyway, to be honest. But 6 of Swords. Queen of Swords. Yeah, I like that too. Tell me about the 4 of Swords. What's the 4 of Swords here for Taurus? We have the 5 of Pentacles, but in reverse. Excellent. Why is the 4 of Swords here, please? Oh, you got 2. We've got the 9 of Swords and Strength. That is exquisite. I love that. At the bottom of this deck, we've got the 5 of Wands followed by the 3 of Wands, which I like very much, and then followed by the 8 of Pentacles, which is the first card that came out of the main deck. So already it feels like I'm getting a sense of you getting on top of things, right? And these are the things that we've been talking about for the last few months that we're starting to get on top of you. And so I'm delighted to see them here. I'm going to almost certainly pull some more cards, but let's get on with this for now. So the first card that you've got, which is kind of recent past, touching on present, is the 8 of Pentacles. Like I said, that's earth energy. And generally, like most of the Pentacles suit, it refers to resources, but particularly the 8 of Pentacles talks about working. It talks about working at something really so hard that you become a master. of that thing, right? The 8s in tarot generally speak about abundance, right? Off the back of hard work. And sometimes talk about karma, but that kind of all ties in together anyway, because, you know, you reap what you sow and all that. If you spend lots of time putting in lots of hard work to things to reach a level of competency and proficiency, inevitably at some point you get your rewards for that. I get a sense of you really keeping your head down. Like, I don't feel like you've been out there partying or anything like that. I think that you've been working quite hard on something. And this could be yourself, certainly. But it feels like it's more to do with your environment. It's something that you've been working on. And maybe it's just been stabilising your resources. Maybe it's working hard at work. You know, that's possible. It could well be on yourself, actually. I'm looking at it. And the 2 cards that you've got to clarify are the Knight of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles, which I find very interesting. The Knight of Cups is it's a card of movement. And being a water card, it speaks about love, right, often. So for me, whereas the Page seems to indicate, you know, small messages of love, which could be, you know, apologies more often than not. The Knight of Cups is kind of a step up. That is actually going to someone, proffering a cup. You know, it's a proposal of sorts, not like a marriage proposal, but it's a, you know, here, I have a cup. It's got some fluid in it for you. Would you like it? But interestingly enough, in this card, the knight is not holding the cup. Usually, he's depicted holding the cup, and he's kind of trotting along on this horse, which is, you know, the whole scene is a kind of triumph of style over substance, really, in my opinion. I don't often like the Knight of Cups, but I quite like this, because this is slightly different. The woman's actually holding a violin there. There's no sense of finery like you usually get with the Knight of Cups, you know, in his, you know, shiny armour and stuff like that. There's actually something quite dreamy about this, and the cup is up in the sky. You know, it's elevated above the scene. I'm going to pull a clarifier for it, because it's such a different interpretation to what I normally expect to see from the Knight of Cups. Why is this Knight of Cups here, please? Six of Wands. Wow. At the bottom of the deck we've got the Ace of Cups, and that's what this is here. It's an Ace of Cups, right? But I asked for 2 cards to clarify, and I ended up with 3, so, you know, we'll see if we're going to take them. We've got the Six of Wands, the World, and the Magician in that order there. And this is excellent, because this feels like a checkpoint. This feels like you have done something. You have worked on yourself so hard that you have actually managed to close out an old cycle and start a new one. And I feel at this point that you might not even be necessarily entirely aware that this is what you've done, but you have done it. The Knight of Cups is the card of Pisces for me, and so I feel like this is the season, right? We've just been through Pisces season. We literally just started into Aries now when I'm recording this, and a lot of signs found Pisces season very difficult, right? Because it required them to kind of hunker down and look within, and a lot of signs aren't really comfortable with that. They like to look out, you know. But it feels like, Taurus, you might have found the energy a little difficult to deal with, but you hunkered down and you disciplined yourself and you worked your way through it. Yeah, because there's quite a... When we're talking about the finery of this card usually, which kind of annoys me a little bit, this is a very practical looking Knight of Cups. You know, it's keeping a goal in sight, and that goal is that Ace of Cups. You know, there it is, that Ace of Cups. It's keeping up high as an ideal, like something to work towards, something to move towards. And it's like you kept that in the right place in your head, right, while you were working on yourself, and you've done it. You've closed out an old cycle and you've moved into a manifesting mode, right? I cannot remember if it was you who got the Magician all over their spread last month. Somebody did, but the Magician energy featured heavily anyway. And Six of Wands, doing it very successfully. To manifest the Ace of Pentacles. Now, as an Earth card, as an Earth sign, the Ace of Pentacles is your ace, right? The infinite potentiality of the suit, which it represents. And Taurians like solid starts. They like things that they can see, things that they can put into the appropriate place in their corner of the universe. You know, it's an energy that they understand really well, and it feels like you moved through Pisces season, probably uncomfortable, like the rest of us, but you really made the most of the energy, and what's popped out the other side is a new start. It's a new you, I went to say there. You have to take that as it resonates to you. Maybe it isn't a new you, maybe it's a new way of thinking, maybe you got a new job, maybe you got a promotion, maybe you moved house. Something new popped out the other end of Pisces season for you. Tell me about this Ace of Pentacles. Maybe it was a relationship. I've got the Two of Cups. Was almost certainly a relationship for some of you. What we've got is the Two of Cups, the Moon, and the Ace of Wands. Now, like, if you've seen any of my videos before, you know what I usually refer to the Ace of Wands as. I'm not going to do it on this one because it's a different depiction of the Ace of Wands and it wouldn't make any sense. The Two of Cups and the Ace of Wands, right, is a passionate new start in a relationship, usually, to be honest. Now, you could take this out of a romantic or a sexual setting and make it, you know, some sort of partnership where both of you are passionate about the same thing, you know, and you move forwards together. So it could be like, you know, it could be a project, it could be a hobby, it could be, you know, a new business, things like that, right? All of those things are possible. But the fact that the Moon is sitting in between makes me feel like whatever confusion that there was about the situation that you found yourself in, and there has been this soulmate energy kind of wandering around for Taurians quite a lot. If you remember, the Temperance card popped out under there, and the shadow cards at the bottom of the deck, so that Sagittarian energy is there. But it's not Sagittarius, could be a Cancer actually. But it's like whatever confusion that there was, whatever confusion that you were moving in, and probably in Pisces season, somehow, with this Ace of Wands, which I've seen to indicate the start of Aries season quite a lot in a few readings that I've done now, like, it's cleared it up for you. You know where you are, and where you are is a new start. We've got the Ace of Cups, the Ace of Wands, and the Ace of Pentacles. No Ace of Swords, but I'm quite comfortable with that because you don't need the Ace of Swords here, you know? Not at all. So then we come to here, and this is the Six of Swords. Now, the reason why I was really pleased to see this is because you've been suffering from a bit of overthinking recently, right? For a little while now, actually. And I don't think it's entirely cured yet, but it's certainly better than it was. You know, perhaps the Piscean energy lent more to the overthinking than it might have ordinarily. It's funny, like every time I look at this, I'm thinking of the Nine of Swords, and the Nine of Swords just come out a bit further on. But it's the present here now. When you take these Six Swords, right? Take those away from 9, what you lose is the 3, and the 3 is heartbreak, right? It feels like there's some rationalization gone on, right? It's almost like you've given your brain a bit of a stiff talking to and kind of told it what you will accept and what you won't. right? And you're moving away from those more destructive mental processes, those more, you know, damaging thoughts that you were having about yourself, the overthinking, you know. Moving away from that. Maybe part of that is learning to understand what is your intuition versus what is your fear talking, or you know, your self-sabotage, or all of those things. But there's a definite sense of movement, right? Sixes are always indicating movement, because for me, the fives talk about destabilization, right? We talk about taking the status quo and kind of fucking pulling the rug out from underneath your feet, actually. So the five is accepting that there is uncomfortable change, and there are things that are not now able to be relied on in a way that they were before. And the six is moving away from that energy. It's physically picking yourself up and moving away from that. And this seems to be what you're doing. Granted, it's not a joyful card, but sometimes that transition can be difficult. It doesn't make it any less worthy, but sometimes it can be difficult. The two cards that you've got underneath to clarify are Death and the Queen of Swords. I love this, right? Everybody's scared of the Death card, but if you talk to any tarot reader, like, it's usually their favourite card because of what it indicates, and what it indicates is transformation, right? It's profound transformation. It's ruled by Scorpio. Scorpio is in charge of, you know, sex and death and creation and destruction and all those kind of things, but it's an evolution, right? It's a shedding of the old and moving forwards. Yes, it can sometimes talk about an end, but I don't like to see ends as something like that, the sort of something that just stops. Because for me, inherent within an ending is another beginning, where you clear out all the old stuff, you're creating space for new things to come in. There's a cyclical kind of feel to death, you know, a life cycle almost, if you will, or a death cycle or whatever, but certainly something that's very cyclical. And here we've got a card of you moving away from something, shift in movement, and all that kind of thing. And then a card of transformation underneath. And it might be that you've shaken up your priorities a little bit recently, but it feels like it's more gaining perspective, right? You've managed to gain perspective on something, and it's changed the way that you... It's changed the way that you think, actually, because there are a lot of swords out here, but none of them are really that bad. You know, sometimes sword suits can be like, oh, when they come up in the thing, but, you know, just as any of the suits, they've got things to teach us. You've got a transformation, and then you've got this Queen of Swords here. Now, the Queen of Swords could be an air sign. I really don't think it is. I think the Queen of Swords is somebody who's getting on top of the way that they think about things, right? The Queen of Swords doesn't overthink. The Queen of Swords doesn't get mired down, right? She's very intellectual. She's very mentally dexterous. But one of the things that's associated with the royal court of the sword suit is butterflies, and butterflies indicate transformation, right? Another card of transformation. I feel like this Queen of Swords is here because you've really started to understand. Maybe you started to understand yourself, but you've certainly started to understand the extent to which you have been sabotaging yourself, right? And maybe this has come as a bit of a shock to you, you know. Because frankly, if you're overthinking anything, then you are absolutely underestimating the power of your own mind. Because this is the thing, you know, you overthink things and you're like, well, it's just the truth. You know, my mind would never trick me like that. Oh, your mind fucking would trick you like that. The mind is a very complex piece of machinery, and when it's operating from a place of fear, it can come out with all sorts of plausible things, but it feels like you've shed that. Whoa. What about Death and the Queen of Swords? Yes. What about Death and the Queen of Swords? I'm not taking all of those, for fuck's sake. Look at that. With the fucking 25 cards there. The one that I am taking is the Queen of Pentacles. I love that. Because not only is that your queen, but check out this depiction. Right? That queen is a shining creature in the middle of all of them, you know? She's not weighed down at all. Yeah, boy! I love this. Look. It's the Queen of Pentacles and the High Priestess. Can you see how they'd be almost one and the same character there, right? The High Priestess talks about the inner world, but she talks about intuition, right? She talks about inner knowledge. What's happened is, I feel very strongly, is that in this redefining of your values, redefining of your thought processes, an increased understanding in the lengths at which your brain will go to try and make you feel bad. Right? You brought out the Queen of Swords, which is logic and reason and all these kind of things, and you've pulled apart all of this. And you've gone, well, that's bullshit, and that's bullshit, and I don't even know why I say that to me, because that's just fucking wrong. You know, this woman thinks very clearly. She sees everything very clearly. And she expresses herself very clearly too. You've shaken yourself up. And in doing so, your intuition's come out to play. And not only that, you've realised that you, as the Queen of Pentacles, and this character here, this High Priestess, you're one and the same. Yeah? You are not so detached from the world as you have thought that you are. You are, in fact, you know, just as important as the rest of us. And you're starting to take care of yourself, and you're starting to understand that you have a part to play just as much as anybody else. It's a levelling up. You know, this High Priestess is naked and vulnerable, and she's staring in a pool there. She's staring at her own reflection. This is someone who can look within and like what they see in return without feeling judged or vain or egocentric or any of these things. You know, it's just, it is what it is. And you are who you are. As above, so below. Right? Very similar to this. Right? And I cannot help but feel these two are linked here. Closing out this cycle brought you closer to this. I love it. The final card you've got is the Four of Swords. Actually, I'm going to see it there. Right. And the Four of Swords can be about lots of things. It can be about taking a break. It can be about stepping back. It often talks about meditation. Because it particularly with this card, because these four swords, which indicate, you know, words and thoughts and, you know, all that kind of thing, you see how they're underneath a veil there, right? So she's put them in the ground. She's put a veil over them, like tucking a pheasant's head under his wing, right? You go sleep. You over there, right? I'm going to lie down here, and I'm going to rest peacefully and not engage with you at all. I'm trying to see if her head is underneath the veil as well with the swords. It's difficult to tell. But she's still wearing her armour, even though she's lying prone. So I sense what's coming towards you in the period of, in the month of April is a period of adjustment. Okay? It's adjusting to the new status quo. You're not ready to take your armour off yet, but you've made incredible strides in the right direction, right? Taking a bit of time to adjust to what your new paradigm is, right? clarified by the Five of Pentacles. Now this way up, like I said, it talked about lack, it talked about, fear of abandonment, being left out in the cold, being shut out, being isolated, all of these things, or a fear of having those things, fear of rejection, that kind of thing. Those things that can often sort of push us towards codependency. We're so afraid of losing something that we actually hold on to it so hard we throttle it, that kind of thing. But it's come out this way up. And this is really important strides for you, Taurus, because this is a shaking off of an old paradigm. What we've got here is endings and beginnings, right? Endings, new starts. And this is part of it. This is maybe what you're meditating on at the moment. And you don't have to be sat with your legs cross-legged, chanting to be doing the meditating. If you're taking some time to be quiet and to be with yourself and see what comes up, that's meditation. Listening to music, you're not doing anything else, that's meditation, definitely. You've let go of a lot of fear. You're moving away from a lot of fear. The shadow card at the bottom of the deck here is the Eight of Cups, and these cups are all emotional things, but it's stuff that doesn't work for us anymore. So just as it can be emotions towards a certain person or a certain situation or something like that, it can also be our emotional responses to things. Like if we realize that they don't work, and we can just go, I'm going to go and do something different now, right? I've had 25, 30, 35, 40 years of thinking in the same way, and all it does is hurt me. I'm going to try something else. Let's see what happens, Three of Pentacles. Yeah, you're rebuilding. Five of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, because you've let go of all of this toxicity, right? This absolutely adds credibility to what I was just saying. We've got the Devil coming out here. You've been driven on quite a fundamental level, whether you've realised it or not. You were being driven by fear of X, Y, and Z. You were exhibiting, probably a number of low-key kind of toxic behaviours, things that might show up as red flags to other people for a long time, because they were your coping mechanisms. That was how you thought you needed to survive. But you are entering a new paradigm now, right? Your thought processes are different. You are willing to try doing something differently, and you're being very gentle with yourself. These two cards are very much gentle, nurturing cards. You're being very nurturing and gentle with yourself, and that's important, because if you do it too fast, it's too much of a shock. It's too much of a change, and you're concentrating on building something new. Three of Pentacles, but this is going to be built solidly. This is going to last for the long term, and there's a sense of you kind of, like I said, not necessarily conserving your energy as such, but certainly taking a little bit of time to allow the swords to sit in a new way, in a way that actually benefits you rather than wounds you. And that's growth, Taurus. That's exceptional. I like that. The final two clarifies that you got the Nine of Swords and Strength, right? The Nine of Swords is the card that's been coming up for you an awful lot over the last couple of months, and it is that overthinking. It's about being kept up at night, about everything. And normally with most depictions of the Nine of Swords, I draw your attention to the fact that the swords are actually stacked in a fairly neutral position. They're not really as dangerous as you perceive them to be. Those things that you're worrying about, they actually have very little basis in reality. This card is slightly different, because all the swords are kind of pointing towards her, but they're not piercing her. They're all kind of pointing down towards her, but there's a sense of them being kind of stepped back from her. They're almost like a wings around the back, but they're not actually hurting her. You know, it's not like the Ten of Swords where you see someone with, you know, swords all over their back and stuff like that. This is still backwards, but she is the focus of it, right? I feel like your biggest issue with overthinking hasn't been the behaviour of others. You know, it's all been about how you've been perceived, what people will think of you, you know, how you must do that, you know, how you must do X, Y, Z to keep people happy, you know. But sort of central to all of that is you, right? Right? You're the focus of your own trauma. When actually sometimes things aren't about you. And sometimes people actually don't give a shit whether you did X, Y, and Z because they don't have the, you know, the space in their brain to even worry about stuff like that. You know, it's stuff that your brain seized hold of and kind of shook around and used as a punishment for you. You're letting it go. It's going. It's gone. And you've grown as a result. I think the Strength card for me always talks about, it talks about adverse circumstances, and it talks about internal strength that comes off the back of surviving adverse circumstances. But with that, the corollary of that is growth for me, always. Whether you realise it or not, you've come an incredibly long way from where you were even just, you know, a month, 2 months ago. And ultimately, it's the only thing that you can control is you, you know? And if you can objectively step back from what you're doing and go, well, I've tried controlling it this way and it doesn't really work. I am going to try it a different way now. Like, that's smart. That's smart and that's great. And that is making you altogether a more whole human being. You know, if what you want to be is of service, and I think a lot of us do want that, you know, once you get to a certain level of kind of spiritual development, you kind of realise that you want to help other people, you want to serve, you know, like, this is the way to do it. But equally, even if you're only chasing your own happiness, learning that that comes from within you is also important. You know, you don't hang that hat on somebody else. It's too much. It's not fair. And it's not right. Why would you do that to somebody that you care about, right? You've got to do all the work inside you. And that's not to say that you cannot have relationships where you lean on each other and you support each other. It's a different thing, right? Validating your own existence through someone else is wrong. Okay? Putting all of your happiness on your ability to make somebody else happy is not okay. Wanting somebody else to make you happy because you can't do it yourself is also not okay. It's too much responsibility for one person. Give us Nine of Swords and Strength, please. Ace of Pentacles. I know. 8 of Wands. 10 of Wands. Like, I always thought we'd got through the entire reading without this fucking fire sign showing up, but here they are. Wow. Wow. Right, before I go there, at the bottom of the deck we've got Justice, right? You're balancing yourself out. Not only are you balancing yourself out, but you're making yourself more useful, not only to yourself, but to the world as a whole, you know, to Gaia, to everything as an energetic web, right? You are leveling yourself up and you're becoming part of that. And that's great because we need you right now, right? Directly underneath that strength, you have grown so much, like so much. It's not self-indulgent to look back and go, I'm really proud of what I've done. You know, use that as your fire to keep moving forwards. Use that as your fuel. You've already leveled up and you've done it really well, but I really do think that you're not quite aware of how much you've done it. As a collective, at least, anyway. But in clarifying the 9 of Swords and Strength, we've got the 8 of Wands, the 10 of Wands, and the King of Wands. Obviously, he was going to show up at some point. And the message here now is that the growth is going to be fairly exponential. Right? You've grown a lot, but it's going to pick up speed now because you kind of know what you're doing. Right? When you consciously reprogram the way that you think about things, right? What starts with very small steps, you know, little victories and all those kind of things. It's kind of like dominoes. And, you know, once you get up to knocking that first one over, the train kind of, it's off, you know, it goes. And this Ten of Wands here, you know, the Ten of Wands usually talks about burden. It normally talks about things being too hard. You know, it's kind of a snapping point, a breaking point. But it is a 10, so what it talks about is it being the end, right? This is... Look at that shiny little character down there, right? Just as we have this shiny character here in the darkness, and this shiny character here in the darkness, you know, I'm really pulled towards this, and this being you, Taurus, this shining light in the darkness. You know, maybe some of you, actually, maybe some of you are mediums, some of you do channeling. I'm seeing these bright characters here. It's time for you to become a light in the dark, Taurus. You know, you've been going through the dark, you know what it's like, you've been through there, and when you cut a path through the dark, when you know what it's like, you can go back and you can help other people who are in the same place, and you can bring them with you, right? And it seems like it's time for you to start bringing them with you, because because you've leveled up to the point where you are now able to do that, right? I mean, we're talking about being of service to the collective, you know, being part of this big energy web that is going on, right? This is time. It's time for you to do that. And this King of Wands, I guess we should mention him, right? It feels like it might be your prize. Your prize for doing everything properly. Here's you leveling up to the point where you are equal. King of Pentacles, that's you now at the bottom of the deck with justice, right? Strength underneath. I can barely believe what I'm fucking seeing here. The Nine of Swords is there as well. Just there. Eight of Swords, Nine of Swords and strength together, and justice. And the King of Pentacles, right? You've leveled up. Everything has unfolded exactly as it should have done. You have done exactly as you were supposed to do, right? If you've had this fire sign soulmate knocking around, right, you two are now becoming at a level where you actually can work together to move forwards. Because I've pulled 3 more cards for you because I was kind of interested, because this felt a little bit more esoteric than the usual ones, right? We've got the Fool, we've got the Two of Swords, and we've got the Ace of Pentacles. Now, right, that's the second time the Ace of Pentacles has come out here. This is the solid new start, right? This is something tangible that you can see, hear, feel, touch, all of those things, right? Right there. But it's also a start that has been instigated by you and using your energy, right? And then we've got this uncharted territory, this trust, you know, and this trust issue has been really important for you, Taurus. Learning to trust yourself, really, more than anything else. And when you trust yourself, then you just trust that everything will be okay, because you will deal with things as they come up, because you're a strong, fixed sign. You can do this. And any notion that you can't is literally your mind talking bullshit to you. Which is what it's been doing. But I cannot help but feel like we're back to this message of you being this shining light in the darkness here, because we've got these two cards of new starts. Oh, itchiness. Here. And then this card here of blockage, right? And it feels like it's exactly what I was just saying. Like, it's your time to shine. It's your time to be a beacon in the dark for other people. And the people who are in the dark are the people that are suffering the blockages, right? You've been there. You see the way through. You see the value of learning to do things in a different way, right? It's time for you to take up the mantle. And whether you're, you know, whether you would class yourself as spiritual or not, there's a torch being passed to you here, and you need to run with it. Interesting. I might do 2 readings for you this month. Yeah. I'm actually thinking about doing extendeds this month as well, so I may or may not continue this in an extended. Have a look in the description box if you're interested, because if I have done it, then there'll be a link down there. If not, then I might just do another video for Taurus, so keep an eye out for that as well. This is really interesting, but I really, really like it. I like it a lot. So I hope that you managed to get something out of that. I am definitely going to do at least one more Taurus reading this month. So yeah, I'm going to go because I'm waffling now. Take care, and I will see you very soon.